Good evening. Our today's topic is about Rodger's humanist theory. So let's look at the outline. We will talk about Rodger's humanist theory, humanism, and facilitative learning. So, Carl Rodgers is considered one of the most influential psychologists of the 20th century. He is best known for developing the psychotherapy method called client-centered therapy and as one of the founders of humanistic psychology. So let's talk about self-actualization. Like his fellow humanist Abraham Maslow, Rodgers believed humans are primarily driven by the motivation to self-actualize or achieve their full potential. However, people are constrained by the environment, so they will only be able to self-actualize if the environment supports them. So let's find out what is or who is the fully functioning person. Rodgers believes that every person could achieve their goal. This means that the person is in touch with the here and now, his or her subjective experience and feelings, continually growing and changing. In many ways, Rodgers regarded the fully functioning person as an ideal and one that people do not ultimately achieve. It's wrong to think of this as an end or completing of life's journey. Rather, it is a process of always becoming and changing. Rodgers identified 5 characteristics of the fully functioning person, and one of them is open to experience. Both positive and negative emotions accepted. Negative feelings are not denied, but walked through rather than resorting to ego defense mechanisms. Second one is existential living, in touch with different experiences as they occur in life, avoiding prejudice and preconceptions, being able to live and fully appreciate the present, not always looking back to the past or forward to the future, living for the moment. Next one is trust feelings. Feeling, instincts, and gut reactions are paid attention to and trusted. People's own decisions are the right ones, and we should trust ourselves to make the right choices. Fourth one, creativity. Creative thinking and risk-taking are features of a person's life. A person doesn't play safe all the time. This involves the ability to adjust and change and seek new experience. And the last one is fulfilled life. A person is happy and satisfied with life and always looking for new challenges and experience. So for Rodgers, fully functioning people are well adjusted, well balanced, and interesting to know. Often such people are high achievers in society. Now let's talk about personality development. Central to Rodgers' personality theory is the notion of self or self-concept. This is defined as the organized, consistent set of perceptions and beliefs about oneself. According to Rodgers, we want to feel, experience, and behave in ways which are consistent with our self-image and which reflects what we would like to be like or in our ideal self. The closer our self-image and ideal self are to each other, the more consistent or congruent we are, and the higher our sense of self-worth. The self-concept includes 3 components. Self-worth comprises what we think about ourselves, Rodgers' believed feelings and of self-worth developed in early childhood and were formed from the interaction of the child with the mother and the father. Second, self-image, how we see ourselves, which is important to good psychological health. Self-image includes the influence of our body image or an inner personality. At a simple level, we might perceive ourselves as a good or bad person, beautiful or ugly. Self-image affects how a person thinks, feels, and behaves in the world. And the last one is ideal self. This is the person who we would like to be. It consists of our goals and ambitions in life and is dynamic, like forever changing. The ideal self in childhood is not the ideal self in our teens or late 20s, and etc. So Rodgers believed that we need to be regarded positively by others. We need to feel valued, respected, treated with affection and loved. Positive regard is to do with how other people evaluate and judge us in social interaction. Rodgers made a distinction between unconditional positive regard and conditional positive regard. So unconditional positive regard is where parents, significant others, and the humanist therapist accepts and loves the person for what he or she is. Positive regard is not withdrawal if the person does something wrong or makes a mistake. The consequences of unconditional positive regard are that the person feels free to try things out and make mistakes, even through this may lead to getting it worse at times. People who are able to self-actualize are more likely to have received unconditional positive regard from others, especially their parents in childhood. So the second one is conditional positive regard, is where positive regard, praise, and approval depend upon the child, for example, behaving in ways that the parents think correct. Hence, the child is not loved for the person he or she is, but on condition that he or she behaves only in ways approved by the parents. At the extreme, a person who constantly seeks approval from other people is likely only to have experienced conditional positive regard as a child. So let's talk about congruence. A person's ideal self may not be consistent with what actually happens in life and experiences of the person. Hence, a difference may exist between a person's ideal life and actual experience. This is called incongruence, where a person's ideal self and actual experience are consistent or very similar. State of congruence exists. A person whose self-concept is incongruent with her or his real feelings and experiences will defend because the truth hurts. Okay, we are slightly moving to the humanism. The early development of humanistic psychology was heavily influenced by the works of a few key theorists, especially Abraham Maslow and Carl Rogers and others. Humanism is a belief in the value of freedom and independence of human beings. For a humanist, all human beings are born with moral value and have responsibility to help on another live better lives. So humanism emphasized reason and science of a scripture, like religious text and tradition, and believes that human beings are flawed but capable of improvement. It also tries to discover the truth about the universe and humanity's place within it. Humanism is usually very individualistic, seeing like each person as important in his or her own right, regardless of the needs of the community. So some humanists, however, have a more collectivist outlook that focus on balancing individual rights against the needs of the community. So here we have two types of humanism. First, religious humanism. However, not all humanists are atheists. In fact, there is also a Christian humanist movement that's as old as humanism itself. In religious humanism, the idea is basically that God exists, but he wants us to act like humanists, to search for truth and on our own, to exercise free will and to strive to make the world a better place. For religious humanism, God is very real, but tends to stay in the background of things rather than interfering or demanding constant praise. Second type is secular humanism, rejects all religious beliefs, including the existence of the supernatural. This approach stressed the importance of logic, the scientific method, and rationality when it comes to understanding the world and solving human problems. So humanism focused on each individual's potential and stress the importance of growth and self-actualization. The fundamental belief of humanistic psychology is that people are innately and good, and that mental and social problems result from deviations from this natural tendency. Okay, next, let's move to the facilitative learning. So there are countless ways for an instructor to facilitate learning among their students, even in a virtual classroom environment, but the term facilitated learning has taken on a philosophy all its own. Facilitated student learning is not only a set of tools, that's strategies, it's also a way that teachers are encouraging students to learn and absorb information in a way that is meaningful and relevant to them. Facilitative learning replaced rote memorization with critical thinking, comprehensive understanding, imaginative learning, and the appreciation for subtlety. Facilitative learning is predicated on the idea that students will perform better in a learning environment when they are empowered to make their own decisions, respected as individuals, and trusted with personal responsibility. So here we have 5 strategies teachers use to facilitate learning. First one is choice. Not every student is the same kind of learner, so try giving them multiple options when assigning projects. This shows that you respect their unique learning style. It also shows that you are more interested in facilitating their learning than exercising your authority. Variation, vary class activities to give students the ability to try out different learning styles and to give each student their movement to shine. It also will help them to choose their approach to assigned projects. Connection, give context for each lesson and show how it relates to other things your students might be learning or experiencing. Tie the material into other lessons, classes, subjects, current events, or real-life examples. Tell them why the lesson is relevant to their lives and why it should matter to them. Conversation, learning how to problem solve is just as important as knowing the answer. So give students time to talk through a problem in small groups or as a class. So conversation also promotes communication skills, socialization and cooperation. And the last one is resources. So today's students have access to a lot more information than the students of previous generations. The real challenge is teaching them how to access the quality and validity of the information they find, provide students with resources they can trust and tools for gauging trustworthiness. Now let's look at 10 tools used to facilitate learning strategies. First, facilitate class, group, and one-on-one discussions on debates. Allow students to call on one another for answers rather than the instructor. Ask questions that don't have one single answer. Leave it open-ended. Role play different scenarios or play games to illustrate lessons. Create multimedia presentations utilizing technology your students used at home. Record and post lessons and resources online for students to reference. later use like guest teachers and speakers to show a different perspective, supplement lesson with virtual field trips or projects that involve field research, collaborate with other teachers to teach related lessons in different subjects. And the last one is have students explain what they learned to someone who doesn't know the material. So when teachers facilitate learning, they also facilitate career success. Creative, imaginative, and problem-solving skills are becoming increasingly valuable, as well as the ability to think critically and analyze information. Supporting and encouraging students to learn for themselves is providing them with tools they will benefit from for the rest of their lives. So that's all. Thank you for your attention.